Hey everyone, just wanted to walk you through the build process for this charcuterie board that's going to be a Christmas present this year. This particular build I decided to use cherry, and I'm going to make the board round, which is something I haven't done before. I'm going to make it about 14 inches in diameter, and so this is me just getting my stock cut and all ready to begin putting through the planer and getting all flattened and straightened out. Now, something that I regularly do when working with rough cut lumber is a lot of it will be bent and twisted. And so once I cut my pieces down, I note the high points and I go back and I take my power planer and I'll cut those high points down so that when I put them through the planer, the board, at least on one side, is semi-flat. This helps me avoid needing to make a planer sled or anything like that. I just kind of do the flattening on one side by hand, close enough where the planer will bring it into a nice flat plane all on its own. Now with all the bumps and twists kind of taken out of it, we head over to the planer and run the board through it until it's a nice clean surface. And this is probably one of my more favorite parts of milling rough cut lumber. Now after that, I take it to the table saw, put it on my jointer sled, and get that surface all ready. If you don't have a jointer, this is a good way of producing an edge that is glue up ready. But it just so happens that I do have a jointer. This was given to me by my dad for Christmas, a super generous gift, and let me tell you, it is pretty cool. And this produces just an absolute perfect edge. I've normally done all of my tabletop joinery or cutting board joinery on the table saw, but man, this just produces a seamless surface. And so after that, I go ahead, get both sides of the joint glued up, and then tighten them up. Now on this particular piece, there was a beautiful knot in it, and rather than avoid it, I actually wanted to accent it. So I got myself some epoxy and backfilled it there so you could actually see inside of it. And so a little heavy on the pour there, and so I had to work a little extra harder to get the bubbles out, but once I got it down, you go back with a lighter or a flame of some kind, and that pops all the bubbles. Now after that was done, I went ahead, cut the excess off, and I'll set that aside for another build. Now I went ahead and cut out the circle roughly on my bandsaw here. Now to get the circle template, I got some circles from Hobby Lobby. They're just machine cut in the factory, so they're as pretty close to perfect as you could ask for. Now they came in a packet of 3. They were 14 inches in diameter and they were 1/4 inch thick. And I was going to, after cutting out the general circle on the bandsaw, make it nice, tight, and clean with my router. And I wanted a bit thicker than 1/4 inch to run my router bearing on, and so I just took 2 of the 3 that came in the packet and taped them together. After getting that all done, I sanded down the epoxy, making sure that I didn't divot it out any so we continue to have that nice flat surface there. And then after getting that done, I taped the 1/2 inch circle onto the bottom and began working around with light small passes with a flush cut router bit there. And I like to take little passes there because too much and I have a hard time controlling the router and getting a good clean cut. And after I got it all squared up there with that, I took the template off and then began working around with a round over bit. And once again, taking nice little small passes and then finally going all the way around once more for a good clean cut. After all the shaping was done, then it was on to sanding and sanding and sanding. Started at 150 grit and then went to 220 there. After I'd got done the general sanding, I really worked on that epoxy to try and make it as clear and as smooth as possible. I've got to study more on how to do that. Wasn't the greatest. Now comes one of the more favorite parts of building, and that's adding the oils onto the board itself, and that really begins to make the grains and all the different colors pop. And I was really happy with this board. I was trying to do something a little unique, taking some sapwood and having it run down the middle and also accent that knot, and I was pretty happy with the way the board turned out as a whole. So thanks for watching. Glad you guys came along on the build, and hoping to do some more videos here in the future.